I like the cover. Don't panic. That's the first helpful or intelligible thing anyone said to me all day.
Yes, that's why it sells so well.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time, my name's Gareth, and this is the channel Books, Songs and Other Magic. And this is a book tag. And it's quite a nice, exciting book tag, I think, because it's celebrating something very lovely, very cool, quite popular, but also something that's worth celebrating. And I'm wrapping a book tag around it because I think it'd be fun. And there isn't a book tag about this yet, even though I'm talking about the Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy. So arguably one of the most popular books that gets talked about on BookTube. And even when you get somebody like Murphy Napier, who is extremely popular, has a massive channel, but hadn't read it yet, reads it and loves it. So it's not dated. You know, you got new people coming to it all the time. But it's obviously an absolute classic. Douglas Adams. It's 5 books, five parts of a trilogy, he liked to say. And it's hugely influential. It's an extremely important book, but it's also something, this particular copy I've had for most of my life. And my favourite book in the series is actually the third one, Life, the Universe and Everything. But I'm going to reread them all soon. But in the meantime, I've read this a few times, but in the meantime, I'll explain why I'm doing a book tag about it, because it's quite a nice reason as well. So if you are a visitor to my channel quite regularly, you might know that I do a fortnightly live show with Dave from Book Blather. Hello, Dave. And we are about to embark on our 42nd episode 42 on the Is This Thing On show. And I suggested to Dave that we mark it on the night as episode 42. And I thought it'd be nice to do a book tag in reference to that, to celebrate my friendship with Dave and our fortnightly show. I love doing the show so much. Thank you so much for all the people that watch it and all the people that we've had on as guests. It's going to be great on Thursday when we do it, but in the meantime, let's do a book tag. So this book tag is about the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and there's going to be 9 prompts, the 9th one being tag people, but the 8 prompts before that are all about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And it's such a great series of books, and I love them loads. So before I get going, actually, because I have got going, but before I do that, I just wanted to point out this as well. So a really nice friend of mine gave me the most amazing gift. So this is a Funko of Rod Serling, and it's just such an awesome gift to be given. So obviously it's called The Narrator because it might have thrown people, it was just Rod Serling, I don't know. But I will get it out of the box once I figured out where I'm going to put it. I think I know where I'm going to put it. I'm going to clear my desk, and I'm just going to put the few Funkos that I've got on the desk where my computer is. But I haven't got many because I'm very selective in what I want, but I did always want this. So this is really cool that that my friend gave it to me. So thank you so much. If you're watching this, you might be watching this because you watch my channel. But amazing gift. So I've got Jim Henson, I've got Stephen King, and I've got Statler and Waldorf. This is really the only other one I was thinking of getting, but I know there's one of Morticia, the original Carolyn Jones Morticia, who you may remember me saying is my wallpaper on my phone. But I may get that one. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you know, this was definitely something I wanted. So look, it's great the way he's got the Rod Serling pose there. So anyway, I wanted to just talk about that and publicly thank her for the gift. It's just a lovely thing to be given. So anyway, right. So the prompts for the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy book tag. Woo! Okay, so the book starts with Arthur Dent having his house demolished. And it's like a microcosm of the world being demolished. So the first question is the demolition of your house. What book would you look for first to save? You're going to rush back in and you want to get a book. I'm actually going to talk about 4 books. But first book, the one that came to mind first, because actually it's quite hard to get and I love it very much. It's one of my favourite books, but it's also quite rare. There's not a lot of point in trying to save a book you can just buy again, right? So it has to be quite a rare book. So Mind Swap by Robert Sheckley. So Mind Swap by Robert Sheckley is a book I would definitely save first. It's a book that's very funny. and I would always be entertained by it. I've got several copies of it myself, but I'll grab one of these, and that's probably my favourite cover out of all of them. But yeah, I've got several copies. I love Mind Swap. It's very funny, it's very silly, but it's the sort of thing I love. It's the sort of science fiction I love. So yeah, I would save that. But also, I've got my Charles Adams collection down here, and I would have to grab some of the rare ones that I'm so pleased to have, that are these small paperback first editions. So I've got Monster Rally here, and I've got Nightcrawlers, which was a recent acquisition, so I'm very pleased to have that. And his first one, Drawn and Quartered. So I've got this in a little packet. Drawn and Quartered, the first collection that came out of Charles Adams cartoons. So I would save these as well. So they're really precious to me. So when you answer this question, if you do my tag, if you do answer that question, think about which ones are precious that you think you might not be able to get again, or you just don't want to have a household without them. Yeah, what would you save if your house was being demolished, like Arthur Dent experiences at the beginning of the book? Okay, the second prompt is about Vogon Poetry. So once he does get whisked away by Ford Prefect, he's on this Vogon ship, and he has to go through the torture of being read the poetry of the Vogons. So the question is, name a poem or a poet or a lyric that you love. So, as might be expected, I'm gonna read some lyrics. So please go ahead and find some poetry that you like. I'd love to hear it. But for now, I'm gonna choose Richard Thompson, one of the greatest lyricists, Richard Thompson, and a song called Cold Kisses. So there's a specific line that I absolutely love, but I'm going to give you some of the early lines so you can get some context for the song. So I'll read out the first bit of the song. Here I am in your room going through your stuff. Said you'd be gone 5 minutes, that's time enough. Here in your drawer, there's lacy things, old credit cards and beads and bangles and rings. But I think I found what I'm looking for. Hidden away at the back of the drawer, here's the life that you led before. Old photographs of the life you led, arm in arm with Mr. X and Y and Z. Old boyfriends, big and small, got to hear how I measure up to them all. Right, it's such a brilliant song. So he's so paranoid, and he's got also this low confidence that he's looking at these ex-boyfriends and seeing how he measures up. There's a place we all must start, love. Oh, that's kind of like a chorusy bit. I'm going to go to the next verse. Here I am behind enemy lines, looking for secrets, looking for signs. Old boyfriends, big and small, got to see how I measure up to them all. This one's handsome, not too bright. This one's clever with his hands all right. Tougher than me if it came to a fight. This is my favourite bit. And this one's a poet, a bit of a wet, bit of a gypsy, bit of a threat. I wonder if she's got over him yet. Oh my God, the storytelling is amazing. So, you know, there's so much you can see in those lines. So, yeah, Richard Thompson, Cold Kisses, from his album You, Me, Us. Brilliant, brilliant set of lyrics, Cold Kisses. So there we are. So that's my second prompt. The third prompt is the answer to life, the universe, and everything, which is obviously 42, which is the relevance of the number 42 for our show. The big question that they give deep thought is, what is the answer to the question of the of life, the universe, and everything? And it's a big joke in the book. It's brilliant. But my question is, what is the point? So please, if you're doing this tag, just take a couple of minutes to tell us what you think is the point of life. What is the meaning of life? So you can go as deep as you want. You know, if Lexan does this, it'll probably be a big half-an-hour chunk of his video, which is why we love him. But you know, you might want to just quickly mention it. So for me, it's about making the world a better place. It's about making sure that your presence on the planet made a difference. Life is about enjoying yourself and making a difference. If you are trying to make a difference and you're not enriching your life from it and you're not enjoying it, then you need to pull back and find other ways to make a difference. But I do think that's what gives your life meaning. And sometimes being a good parent and bringing up good kids and giving them the chance to be good adults and being there for them and creating the next generation can do that. And sometimes it's about making your mark on the world in other ways as you're living as adults, you know, blah, blah, blah. So some people may not be parents, but they do amazing things in the world and make a difference. To me, that is what it's about. And I think there's all sorts of things that are a part of that, staying positive and seeing the light in the dark times, if you like, seeing a way to overcome hardship, but helping people out, being selfless when you can, looking for ways that you can be charitable or think about other people, that kind of thing. So that, to me, that's what the meaning of life is. Okay, so radio beginnings. The fourth prompt is radio beginnings. The fact that Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy is a wonderful book, a wonderful set of books, but it started off as a radio show. So its beginnings were quite unusual. It started off as a radio show, and on Radio 1. And the question is, what's your favourite experience with radio as a listener? So my response to that question is really about my regular visits on I can't remember what day of the week it was. I think it was a Saturday. There was a DJ on Radio 3, I think it was. My vague memory. But the point is, Andy Kershaw, this northern guy that had the most amazing taste and experience in music, would do this world music program. And I absolutely loved it. He did it for a number of years, and it really educated me on different music from around the world, traditional music from around the world. I loved it. And that's probably my favourite thing that I can remember from my years of listening to radio. So there's that. Oh, and I'll also mention another thing, because it ended up being such a big part of my 20s when it was on TV and stuff. But the original version of Whose Line Is It Anyway, which then became an American version as well, but the original version of it was actually a radio show. And it's really funny, because I remember thinking when they announced it on Channel 4 that they were going to make a TV version of Whose Line Is It Anyway. It sounds weird now, but I thought, how can you make that into a TV thing? Thinking it was so suited to radio. But I used to listen to it on Radio 4. But obviously, it absolutely worked on TV, and it was really successful. And then obviously they made a couple of American versions, they're amazing. But Whose Line Is It Anyway? It's a fantastic improvisational show. So that's another thing I can mention. That's another favourite memory from radio. Okay, the fifth prompt is the towel. So one of the things that get quoted a lot from the book is that the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the actual book that is within the book, so the Hitchhiker's Guide, the guide for hitchhikers of the galaxy, they advise you to always have a towel with you. That's the most important object you can take with you as you travel around the galaxy. Take a towel. Yeah, so it's one of the regular jokes in the book. And my question is, what books would you pack on holiday? So you can answer that however you want. But for me, when I go on holiday, I usually try and take a few, depending on if I'm going somewhere that's got shops, I'll only take a couple, knowing that I'll get some. But if I'm going somewhere quite remote, or I don't expect to see many shops, then I might take a few, knowing I've got something for the plane journey back, as well as all the time I'm there. So I will do this answer as if I'm not going to buy anything, right? So what I do is I'd like to take a selection of things that cater for different parts of my taste. So I would take a non-fiction book. So I've got this one here to represent that, The New Jim Crow. It is really good. And I bought that because Brian from Bookish reviewed it and talked about it. So that's a non-fiction one I could bring. And this is a new release that I'm looking forward to reading, Space Brooms. It's a bit of fun. It's a light-hearted book that it's the sort of thing I would take on holiday, because if you're on a plane, I don't think you want to read anything particularly hard going necessarily. So this would be a good one to take as a light-hearted read, bit of fun, kind of a romp that I might take with me. And I might want to take something like a crime book as well. So lately I've been doing that. So I'm obviously going to look for fun, pulpy science fiction, but I might take a crime book. And then what I might do as well is something I can nip into, and this is one of the Swords books from Fritz Leiber, and these books are like small short stories, so they're easy to nip into for so say I've got about, I don't know, an hour of being awake in a hotel late at night, I might think, oh, I'll just read one of these. You know, I might do that. So that's the kind of thing I might do on holiday. And what I like doing when I am on holiday and do those vlogs, I like to talk about what I brought with me as well. So that may ring bells about what I might have taken. So yeah, that's the towel. The sixth prompt is based around the infinite improbability drive, which is one of the fantastic moments in the first book, and it's faster than hyperspace, and it's the idea is it travels really fast, but the side effect is that anything can happen, and it's quite surreal, the sort of joke within it. But it's a hyperdrive that's faster than hyperspace, basically. So the prompt is, can you give me an example of a fast read? So a book that you've read really fast, you loved it. So it's not just a bad book because you read it because you read it fast because it's bad, but something that you really rate. That's a fast read. So this book I have talked about a lot in the early part of my channel, but I haven't talked about it that recently, really. So that's Blake Crouch's Dark Matter, a book I really love a lot, and I just whizzed through it because it's so easy to digest. It's a lot of fun, but it also tugs on your heartstrings. I think for me it did, and it's a thriller, but it's got a lot of heart. I think, like I said, it's very emotional. I think he's looking for his wife for the whole thing, but there's this sort of fantastic sci-fi element. And it's, some people have written it off as like an airport book because it's got that fun thriller element to it. But yeah, it's a very fast read and it's fantastic. If you haven't read Dark Matter yet, I thoroughly recommend it. It's amazing. So that's what I'm choosing for my fast read. The seventh prompt is don't panic. So on the cover of the book within a book, so the book within this book, the cover says don't panic, written in bold letters. So the prompt is pick a book with lots of tension and suspense. That's my spin-off of the don't panic phrase. A book with lots of tension and suspense. So again, I don't think I've mentioned this for a while, but it is something I've mentioned quite a lot. But I can't resist it. This book, it just still blows me away thinking about this. S.A. Cosby's Razorblade Tears. Real tension, real proper suspense that made me bursting to pick it up again. I hated putting it down when I was reading it, and I desperately wanted to know what was going to happen. And there's some moments where I think this is an example of when I actually spoke out loud when I was reading it, which I wouldn't normally do, and I was like, what? It's such an amazing book. So Razorblade Tears is my example of a great book with tension and suspense, palpable tension and suspense. Okay, so the eighth prompt. There's been loads of TV and film adaptations of, well, I say loads, but there's some really well-known and well-discussed versions of Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy. There's the BBC series from the 80s, which happened not that long after the novel came out, that Douglas Adams would have been involved in, which is very highly regarded, and it is wonderful. And then there's the recent film, well, I say recent film, relatively recent film, with Martin Freeman as Arthur Dent and all sorts of other people in it, Zooey Deschanel and Sam Rockwell and lots of other people in it. And I like some aspects of the film. Some people just hate the film, and I think there are some things in the film that are done well, some things not so much. So I don't like Zaphod's head being underneath that head. That doesn't work for me. I like the two heads beside themselves in the TV series, but I don't like Sam Rockwell does this and then there's another head there. I don't like that. But I loved what they did with Marvin the robot. I thought it was great. The film version of that, I thought it was really, really good. So anyway, yes, there's good and bad in that. And TV. So anyway, the prompt is, because of those adaptations, pick a book to talk about one or more adaptations. So a book I've said before I absolutely love is Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. And I think it's interesting talking about the different adaptations. There's been tons and tons. And literally going back to the silent era when there was actually a version of Alice in Wonderland with Oliver Hardy in it, which is kind of crazy, isn't it? And there's been loads and loads of different adaptations. There were at least 3 or 4 before the Disney film. Since the Disney film, there's been at least another dozen. Half a dozen. I don't know if there's been a dozen. At least another half a dozen. So there's been tons of adaptations. And Obviously, the Disney one was the moment when Alice became a blonde. So that's kind of a famous thing. And there's been lots of different illustrations of her that's been influenced by the Disney version. And, you know, that's in our head because Disney's such a big part of our culture. And I do like that adaptation. But my favourite adaptation of this book is the version that's got Whoopi Goldberg as the Cheshire Cat and Martin Short as the Mad Hatter. I really love that version. I think it's a really good version. Most versions pick and choose which bits they want to pick from the Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. They kind of pick different bits. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, that's my favourite version, which I think is a British version, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's a really good version. And the Tim Burton versions, I mean, the first film was kind of pretty random. I like the aesthetics of it. I like what it looked like. I love the way that Helena Bonham Carter's Queen looked. But I wasn't completely sold on it. It was a bit of fun, but it didn't match the other things I've seen. And I haven't even seen the second one, so I don't even know what motivated them to do the second one. But yeah, I'm not really sure about that. But it's quite kind of worth noting as well, because I just wanted to give this prompt to anyone who just wanted to talk in general about adaptations. There's a really interesting Hanna-Barbera thing that I remember from my childhood, which was called What's a Nice Place Like You Doing in a Place Like This? What's a nice kid like you doing in a place like this? And I remember Sammy Davis Jr. was the voice of one of the characters, and I think it was the Cheshire Cat. And I think he sings What's a Nice Kid Like You Doing in a Place Like This? But it was all Hanna-Barbera stuff. And Fred Flintstone was the carpenter, I think, from the Walrus and the Carpenter bit. But I always remember that I loved that. And I really liked the song, What's a Nice Kid Like You Doing in a Place Like This? And I remember that from my childhood, but I haven't seen it since. But it's really stayed in my memory. And I literally, you know, I remember it so well that I could sing the What's a Nice Kid Like You Doing in a Place Like This, you know. So, yeah, it's funny, isn't it? That I really remember that. And I haven't seen it for 40 years, at least, you know. So it's probably even more than that. But, yeah. So Alice in Wonderland had loads of different adaptations. I might actually do a video on the different adaptations. I don't know. If you thought that little chunk was interesting, I'll do that. That'd be fun. Okay, so my next prompt was to tag people. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to think about it properly, and I'll probably tag a load of people because it's an original tag. And hopefully you'll find this interesting. You want to do it yourself. Thank you so much for watching. If you get a chance to watch the original BBC series of Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy, I'll definitely recommend it. If you can get hold of the original radio series, then you're a genius. That'd be brilliant. And clearly, the books are worth reading. They are fantastic. Where's it gone? There it is. Hitch Hikers Guide to the Galaxy, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, Life, the Universe and Everything, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, and Mostly Harmless. That's the fifth one. The fifth one I didn't think was as good as the other four, I've got to say. He was going through a really bad mental health period, and you can really tell. It's not very funny, and it's a little bit morose, I thought, the fifth book. But the other four are brilliant. So there we are. So rather than stay curious, I will say so long, and thanks for all the fish.
Picture of what it's like to be